Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, a veteran lawmaker hopes for a Senate comeback.
I have something to contribute, so I might as well offer myself to the people if they still want me.
But can he hurdle the disqualification case against him? Also his thoughts on the conviction of former First Lady Imelda Marcos.
Makita lang namin na makulong yan. Talaga maligaya na kami.
The government's drug war.
I'm comfortable with practically all politicians, all policies of the administration. I'm not comfortable with what their individual officers do.
Our friendly ties with China and the country's claim in the West Philippine Sea. Former Senator Serge Osmeña III joins us live. And later, can you find the hidden Mickey in some of Metro Manila streets? That's for today's In Focus. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. A former senator and veteran lawmaker is joining the colorful list of senatorial aspirants in the 2019 elections. But the comeback may not be easy because of a move to disqualify him due to his alleged failure to declare his previous campaign expenses. Also, we get to know his priorities should he win a Senate seat and his take on important issues like the South China Sea and the government's war on drugs. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have former Senator Serge Osmeña III. Senator, good to see you again. It's been a while.
See you too, Pinky. Yes.
So what made you decide to run?
Well, so many friends have been pestering me to run for the past 6 months. So I decided that since I had something to contribute, especially along the economic problems in this country, I decided to throw my hat into the ring. Now, with regards to that COMELEC filing against me,
the campaign
it's true
expenses.
that I did not file on time, but I filed late. And so the COMELEC proper, which is the commissioners, allow you to file late. But the COMELEC lower office won't allow you to file late because it is against the law. Mm-hmm. So if it goes to the COMELEC proper, they will absolve me.
Are we talking about 2 years, 2010 and 2016,
okay.
Sir?
In 2010, I filed, but I filed late. So they cannot say I didn't file in 2010. And I filed late because my papers were jumbled up with the expenses of Noynoy Aquino's campaign. I was also his campaign manager.
Right.
So I was about 15 days late in filing. And then in 2016, they did not allow me to file late. And I filed late because, again, my office was a tumbling mess because I had 2 offices and had to pack up in a hurry to leave the offices, no? So they didn't answer me until 1 year later. And I said, but they allowed the Liberal Party to file late. They allowed Senator Rojas to file late. They allowed Senator Drilon to file late. So why won't they allow me to file late?
Why didn't they allow you to file late?
I don't know. They didn't give me an answer.
But didn't you write to the COMELEC chief back then,
COMELEC,
Andy
yes.
Bautista?
Yes. And he wrote me back and said, well, your case is now with the COMELEC proper. But the COMELEC proper never allowed me to file late.
But would that be a strong enough argument, sir, to say that if you allowed all my other senatorial aspirants to file late,
yes.
why are you not allowing me to file late?
Right. So...
Okay. So do you feel that this might be a serious threat to your candidacy?
No, it will not be. I'm sure that the COMELEC will absolve me because they have always allowed late filing.
All right. That would be the best defense there.
Because, you know, in 2010, for example, I filed late, but they allowed me to sit. See? So they do allow late filing.
And as you said, with some of the senators as well.
Yes.
All right. During the 2016 elections, you placed, if I'm not mistaken, 14th.
14.
You were alleging back then, sir, that you were cheated during the elections. How can you possibly, are you a little bit paranoid? Are you going to be more careful this time around in guarding your votes, sir?
Yes. Well, this time I'm going to have to win over number 13 by about 7% or more, because that's how much they cheat you, 6.5%. So if they add 6.5% to somebody behind me, he's going to overtake me with in no time at all.
It's so funny how you say that's how they cheat you with 6.5%. It's like that's the threshold.
Yes.
Pagka ganon, delikado ka pa.
Yeah. So I have to win by 7% or more above number 13.
Yeah. Let's look at the survey, though. The last one was that latest Pulse Asia survey. September 1 to 7, I believe this was the one. You placed 8 to the 17th range, sir. Is that comforting enough for you?
No, it's not
At all,
comforting.
huh?
No, because the percentage were too close. So I'll have to widen the percentage.
But look at the people with you. I mean, yung malapit po sa inyo, you have, at least in that range, you have Coco Pimentel, you have Lito Lapid, and you have
We're all
Rojas.
practically tied with Senator Jinggoy. We're all very, very close to Senator Jinggoy. So Jinggoy might be about 36, and Amy will be about 34, and the rest will about be 33 and 32. So we're too close to each
Senator,
other.
is it such a close fight, this one? From all the times you've ran, how close do you think this senatorial election will be?
It's going to be close.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, this is a part of the election return that you're not quite sure how the actual voting will take place, because we're still early now, and a lot of this is top of mind voting. So when we get down to brass tacks about January, February, March, then you will really know.
I want to bring that back on the screen. The senatorial candidates, Amy Marcos on number 8. Sir, how would this play with you in the event you win and the Governor Amy Marcos wins? Can you work with her?
Yeah, I worked with Bongbong. I worked in the Bongbong in the Senate, yeah.
In the 2010 election. So no problem with that.
No problem.
Even if you were, of course, in the past jailed for, how long were you in
5
detention?
years.
For 5 years.
Yeah.
What is that, sir? Is that, how would you explain something? Is that all forgotten, or is it just really moving on?
Well, I've forgiven everybody. So I just cannot forgive those who did things against the Filipino people. But if you did anything against me, I forgive you.
So who are those people who did things against the Filipino people who you cannot forgive?
There were lots of, like, for example, not them, because they're already the second generation, but the first generation, that's Imelda Marcos and all those people. Although it's really very difficult to put your hat on to, because if you get mad at them, then you can't work with anybody anymore. So you just let it slide, and you'll just wait and see for the right time to do something about it. Like now, for example, if they're going to arrest Imelda, that'll be good. Of course, she'll get bail, but at least that it will prove that they did something wrong to the Filipino people.
So obviously, you feel that, are you saying that the former First Lady should be arrested?
Well, she should be arrested, yes, but she can post bail.
Yeah, that will be up to the Sandigan Bayan, of course.
Yes.
What about thoughts, Senator, on some lawmakers saying you need to consider her health, you need to consider her age? So maybe
She won't be, she'll be arrested, but she'll be let go on bail. So there's no skin off her back.
yeah, I guess my question is, when we talk about certain conditions such as health and age, to anybody, not just the former First Lady, to anybody accused and found guilty, should that really play an important role in possibly not detaining or detaining a particular person?
You always take the age into consideration, but then, for example, the guy's only 70, not 89 like Mrs. Marcos. you have to enforce the law. You have to take it on a case-to-case basis. But age is not, it's just a, shall we say, modifying factor in your behavior, because if you're really guilty of something, you have to go to jail. And maybe after you've served 2, 3, 4 years, then they'll let you out because of your age. But you still have to go to jail.
So even if you're 89, is that what you're saying? Even if you're 89 years old, you should go to jail
No.
even for a year or 2 years?
No.
No.
89 is too old. I mean, you know.
What's the threshold?
I'd put her under house arrest.
Ah, okay. All right. I guess that would be best.
Yes.
That would be the best scenario.
Yes.
Okay. Just before we leave your candidacy, why are you running as an independent?
I've always run as an independent.
Again.
2001, I ran as independent. 2010, I ran as independent. 2016, I ran as an independent. So I always ran as an independent.
But in the last elections, please correct me if I'm wrong, you were affiliated, or you were the campaign, were you the campaign manager of Senator
Grace Poe?
Grace Poe?
No, I was not.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you were working with her.
I was helping her, yes.
Yeah, you were helping her campaign in the presidential elections. Now, you're talking about, you know, your place is still, your ranking rather is still not very solid. You are supposed to be a personal friend of the president, and I want to ask how and why, because that's what I read, sir. And before you answer that, is how important is an endorsement by the president on your winnability?
Okay, the endorsement is not important because, you see, people vote for me based on my independent mind, not based because I'm for or against somebody. And I've always run that way. So in 2001, 2010, they did not hold it against me whether somebody was for me or against me. So I like that situation wherein that people will judge you on your own rather than judge you because you're affiliated with a person.
And you're a personal friend of President
Yes, he's
Duterte?
a personal friend of mine. Yeah.
How? Can you give us a little bit of background? how this all
Because,
began?
since he was mayor of Davao in 1995, when I became senator, I wished to visit him in Davao. So that's about it, because he hardly comes to Manila.
Yeah. But an endorsement from him, would you say, be a big boost to your candidacy?
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah, because there'll be plus and minus also there. As long as he's neutral with me, I'm okay.
You're better off really
Yes.
independent, as you have been independent in the past. All right, a number of things we need to discuss. Policies of President Rodrigo Duterte in general, sir. Which are the policies that you fully support, and which ones do you object to?
Okay, I fully support his anti-graft, anti-corruption campaign. I fully support also his, well, I partially support his campaign against drugs, except for the EJK. I'm against EJKs. But unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it because people, 76% agree with his peace and order campaign. So what can you say about that? He has already removed from the police the EJK campaign and has handed it to the PDEA. So we hope that improves things. As far as the West Philippine Sea is concerned, I think that he is correct. Because he's correct in making friends with China.
Independent
Yes.
foreign policy. Yeah.
No, it's not an independent foreign policy. It's a foreign policy favorable to us because he's made friends with China. When this thing blew up about 3 years ago, and China were not buying our bananas, which are already in Hong Kong, the bananas rotted. And then China stopped sending tourists over to our country. So that affected us also.
All right.
So since about 30% of our goods go to China for export, let's keep up good relations with China and let this West Philippine Sea thing solve itself over the years.
We're going to talk about that after the break. The West Philippine Sea solved itself after these years. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Still to come, we'll get to know, well, his thoughts on other national issues such as federalism and train. Former Senator Serge Osmeña shares his thoughts after the break. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, former Senator Serge Osmeña III. Very interesting. He said, let the West Philippine Sea kind of like take care of its own in the next couple of years. What do you mean by that, and how will this affect, well, the ruling of the court on this?
It will not affect the ruling of the court. The court ruling stands already, except that we can't do anything to implement it because China won't cooperate. As a matter of fact, China is the one wrecking our islands there. However, what will happen is that as long as we can get our fishermen to fish in the West Philippine Sea, which the Chinese are now allowing, our only reason to fight China on the West Philippine Sea is one, the right of passage. But then the United States is already enforcing that, the right of passage. So we cannot enforce the right of passage because we have no ships. And then the next one is the underground or the
exploration.
The what you call this, the goodies at the bottom of the sea, which are the oil,
joint
natural gas,
sir.
and all that.
Yeah.
Yes, that we will have to resolve with China,
yeah.
Because who gets the bigger share in the West Philippine Sea?
Yeah. So, when people say, Senator, that let me use some of your arguments. You have, goods coming from the Philippines now being exported to China, which nabubulok na ho siguro sa dati dahil nga we were friends with China. We did not have friendly ties with China. And then you said, you have the fishermen now being able to enter Scarborough Shoal. Are those, I guess the question is, are those good enough to say, beneficial yung pagiging pagkakaibigan natin sa China dahil meron itong mga...
Yeah, definitely. Definitely it's good enough because if they don't buy 30% of our goods, where do we sell those goods?
And what about the fishermen? I mean, Scarborough Shoal is...
Yes.
Is ours. Do we really need permission? Do the fishermen really need, sir, permission?
Technically, we don't need permission. But then, when they're there and they have heavy ships, I mean, they'll have 1,000 ships around the area. What can we do about it?
Yeah. So that's the thing. I guess that's what can we do about it? So we just say, okay, thank you, because you're allowing us to fish?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. In the meantime, yes. Well, what can we do? What can we do?
Yeah. When you talk to when the president talks about this, he says, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to war with China?
Yeah,
it's as if we can go to war with China. Yeah. But doesn't it, I guess, does that in one way or another, sir, belittle the ruling of the arbitration court on this?
It does not, because the ruling stands already.
Okay. But you were saying the problem is China just does not want to cooperate.
I mean, it might take us 50 years to solve this. So let's not sacrifice all that business we can do with China.
And take advantage of it now?
Yeah, I'm not too sure how this thing will turn out. In international matters are really have to do with sino mas malakas eh. And so dito mas malakas ang China. So give up muna tayo dyan.
Dahil mahina tayo.
Yeah,
compared to China.
Yes.
Yeah. Sir,
I mean, everybody. Malaysia's mahina, Vietnam's mahina. I mean, compared to China, I mean, only the United States can stand up to China.
So, actually, sir, there are also some suggestions that instead of using this, hindi naman tayo kayang, we can't go to war with China, is that we talk to some of the other claimants and come together and form a group. Yes. How about that?
Well, that would be good, but they can't do it. We haven't been able to do it. And even if you form a group, what will you
accomplish? I guess claimants coming together, nagsasama-sama po. I don't know what that will produce in the end. Pero kung magsama-sama po yung ilang claimants against China, would that bring about some positive result, you think? Would that even be an alternative, you think?
I don't know because, you see, that's a very important piece of property to China. China is looking to control its own territorial waters. And so it's claimed practically the entire
Everything.
West Philippine Sea,
Yes.
less China Sea.
The South China Sea.
Yeah. So if China has the power, if it has the ships, if it has the Air Force to do that, there's nothing anybody in the world can do anything.
Joint exploration, you were saying you're for this as long as we get the bigger share of the pie. Is that what you're saying, sir?
In the West Philippine Sea.
Yes. What's a good percentage that the Philippines should be getting? 70?
70,
60?
60, I don't know, 70 or 60.
But you think it's a good idea really to go into a joint exploration
Yes,
with
it's
China?
a good idea.
Okay.
And besides, that's a form of showing that we can work together.
Train. Inflation, sir, train, inflation, all-time high, petroleum products, they average about, I don't know, sir, from now, January to today, maybe around, I'd average it at 10 pesos increase, sir.
Yeah, but I cannot do anything about the petroleum products because that's a world market price. But for the other things in train, yes, you can do something about it. But I'm not really blaming train because train already lowered the income tax. I mean, they raised to 250,000 the amount which is exempt from income tax. So nagpera ang mga tao rin, no? And so they have to pay it back through other things. Now, putting 2 pesos and 50 centavos excise tax on diesel would have been a bit too much if you took into consideration the 40 peso rise in the price of diesel. But they did not take it to the 40 peso rise in diesel. They just put 250. So maybe we can suspend the effects of those 2 pesos and 50 centavos, but that's very, very small. So the train did not really contribute more than 1% to our inflation. What contributed a great deal to our inflation, and we're saying it's 6.7%. But I was just talking to Isabela this morning. It's 7.6% in Isabela. So the 6.7% is around the Metro Manila area, but it's higher in the outside things. Now, the thing is, if you have 6.7%, that is too high for anybody. That is way too high because, in other words, if that holds for 1 year, your 100 pesos today will buy only 93 pesos next year. So hindi pwede yan. Now, what happened there was that I think the biggest fault was the rice problem. The NFA allowed the reserves of rice to go down to 2%. And on top of that, they showed about the whole world, look, we're down to 2%. I said, you don't do that because the traders will start holding back on their
supplies
stocks and supplies to jack up the price.
So that
the price went up to 70 pesos.
Right.
Jesus Christ.
So that was a mistake, obviously, coming from the NFA, the National Food Authority.
Yes. First, they had money to stock up the reserves, but they spent the money to pay their debt. No, that's wrong.
All right. Federalism, sir. Your thoughts on federalism?
My thoughts on federalism is they don't know what they're talking about.
What do you mean?
They don't. I mean, I said, what is federalism to you? And they'll say, well, we will federalize this country because we'll divide it into
2 regions.
15 regions.
Yeah.
I said, and then what? Do you know that only 3 regions now are self-sustaining?
These are?
NCR 3 and 4A.
Okay.
The rest will be underwater. Now, like for example, take Region 7, Cebu. Cebu alone will be able to hold its own under federalism. But Cebu, Negros Oriental, Bohol, and Siquijor were underwater. You go to Caraga, for example. In Caraga, 90% of their income is IRA. I said, if 90% is IRA, where will you get the 90% when there's no IRA? So that's that. 2, under federalism, you're going to have to organize federal assemblies, federal governor, federal vice governor, federal assemblies. So that's more. That's an incredible amount of. You'll have
Politicians.
You'll have 2 times the number of congressmen now. We have about 300 congressmen.
Yeah.
You're going to have 600 congressmen among the. I said, putang ina.
So malabo po yan. Obviously, that is not something...
It's 250 billion pesos more we will have to spend.
All right. All right, so sir, unfortunately, we've run out of time. We'd like to thank you and it's good to see you again. Former Senator Serge Osmeña III. Sir, maraming salamat po sa inyo.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Coming up, Find the Hidden Mickey. That's for today's In Focus. Sir, we'll...